Mic check 1, 2. You guys hear me? I'm just gonna test it now. Let me know if you can hear me now. Okay, good. Sorry about that. Yeah, I muted it earlier. Some static. Yeah, maybe it's the background noise here. Let me turn that off here. I'm gonna move the mic closer. It's supposed to be, excuse me, supposed to be a good quality mic. Let me see if that can be boosted here under my mic settings. While that's happening, I was just mentioning the price came up to 43.88. That was the price that we expected overnight, or I guess into this end of the Globex session. And so if you're holding a long, potentially it may come up now to the next area, which is 43.90. That's what I was trying to say earlier. I'm just gonna check my. I think the level is high. I'm just gonna sit closer to the mic, so you can let me know if there's any problems. So going back to the chart here, I posted this chart yesterday, and basically price has been respecting the fibs very well in the support levels. So if we blow this up just a little bit, we can see this was the Friday high on the left here, and then coming down here, this was the low, which was a retest of the low on Friday, and that held support. And then if we look at this range for that bullback session, that's what we like to do to get a sense of the forward direction. You can see that price found support here at the first fib, the 0.236, and this gives us a good idea that price will continue regardless of looking at the candlesticks and the price action. You want to look at the key price values, as most of the algorithms will kind of come in and out of those levels. So here there's a big support, and then again it tested it again here, midnight price, and that gave us a good idea that price will then, usually if you get support at the first fib, it'll come up to the second or third fib, so either 0.5 and then 0.681. So from there I suggested an entry right around here, either 76 or 77, with an exit around 80, which is this 0.618. If you held a bit longer, that's great. And the upside here was what we targeted, an expansion of that range here. An expansion meaning it gets past the prior high, and the prior high here, the first fib, is the 1272, which here would have been exactly where we marked it, the 43.86.5. That was a couple hours ago, and then it came back down a bit. And now we just had the opening session, so I had a sell order on one of my accounts here at 43.88. 43.88 here is the full expansion, 1618. You can see how it hits right to that tick, and that's basically a perfect, trade if you got in from that 0.236 and you held it all the way to this expansion. So basically that's what I like to do. Doesn't always pan out that way, but if you, I'm just going to draw a box here. If you hold and you trust the levels and you don't look at the price action, well, you can follow it too, but usually if you follow that, it's supposed to be an arrow, but it's not. You can take it for the ride up here, and usually if the Globex session is showing very strong support here, at least into the New York Open, you will see a tap out right around here in the expansion of the Globex session, so right here. So this would have been potentially a nice short reversal play here. So that's what you can mark for, is where the reversals will come into light. Here that would have been a good short, probably at least back to R1 Camarilla pivots. So here I also have on this chart the Camarilla pivot points. So for those who may not be part of our Discord normally, I always plot these Camarilla pivot points we have here. And some people ask, do you use this daily values or not? And that depends on a few things. So if we look at the prior day, the range is very wide. We had, this was the full day range from the 43.26 all the way up to 43.90, and then the actual session for New York on Friday was from here to here. So if you use pivot points and you're doing calculation, you can either do a calculation based on the full range for the 24 hours, or you can use a calculation that's based just on the RTH, the regular session. And so here we can set it to daily. If you don't set it to daily, then it's going to give you a full range and it's going to be a lot wider. So using daily, we narrow it down a little bit more. Should be just checking if that's the case. And so using those pivots will give us a good idea of how the trend will continue going forward. So here we can see at this R1, typically this R1 and this S1 are very important at the beginning of the session. So if you see a breakdown here, we'll see price likely come down and test one of these lower fibs again, maybe all the way down to S1. So typically if you see a breakdown at one of these, we're going to see price come all the way down to either the second pivot point, and conversely, if you go the other way, if you see a breakout here, we'll likely see it to go up here. So for now, we see support here. I'm not so inclined to take it long here because it's kind of doing a discovery right now with the price. I'm going to go down to the 3-minute chart here. And the next area of expansion is this little gray arrow that I plotted here. It's not so much upside, it's about 4 points, but it's the next area of expansion. It's past the expansion of Globex. It's that pre-market range that we just had here. So basically not the Asia market expansion, but the full Globex session. So you can either position for a short. I have in here this orange box, basically the orange box. For me is a likely rotation area, perhaps just before this R3. So on my other screen I have just a little TPO chart with the point of control, TPO, value area high, value area low, for those who like to do vol trading. And I'm watching this normally. I have this on my other charts. So when we have a breakout above value area high, it's usually it moves pretty quickly. And on this chart I don't have it, but on my crazier chart, I'm gonna load that up here. This has everything. So I don't usually trade with this one unless I'm trying to look at something specific. So this has the VWAPs, that has the volume profile for the session. It has the ADX CMF, these are momentum indicators. So it's just some other information to gather when we're trading. So I'm gonna close this down here. So it's good to get an eye. You can see here, some people like to trade at the VWAP bands. Whenever it gets to this higher VWAP band, I have it set at 2 standard deviations. We tend to have kind of a bounce off of it. So that was at the open, and so go to 5-minute chart, you'll see it a bit better right there. So combining these two pieces of information, I have on this chart all the fibs that we mapped out in our exercise earlier. If you weren't on that call, basically what we have here are fibs for projection of the prior range. This one is for a fib for the full day Friday range. Then we have some fibs for the regular session range. And that gives us a good idea of how far price could expand if it continues to go up today. It could also be an inside day, and that would suggest that then we stay below 92, the high on Friday. So we mark that here. Oops. Wow, it's not working. It's gonna mark that line there. So I'm waiting right now for a short entry again. If it comes up to 91, we're well past this 0.786. If we on a normal day the range would be smaller, we would consider shorting the 0.786. So it went past that already in pre-market. So I'm going to do some smaller scale here, 1 minute chart, to see what's happening. Good morning, Duck, Astro, Murdy, Quality. Thanks for joining. I'm just doing some trading on the side, charting on the side. Thought I'd post it on YouTube while we're trading this today, just to see how that goes. And I'll show you my technique. Basically, I'm using fibs to identify the main pivots where large money buyers, large money players will come in and out of the market. And then on a local time scale, I can try to scalp shorter moves. So for instance here, this retrace that went up was probably a good opportunity to get in here, the 0.786 rebound. So I'm going to remove some of this information here. Holy smokes. A lot of stuff here. Yeah, that's good. So since we broke here, we pivoted off the 0.786. We came back up to this 0.786, which is 0.326. Now it's coming down. It should come down to 78.75. So I'm going to mark it here, 78.75. If this expands further, we might get a pivot here. And if we look on a higher time frame, let's see what happens here. So I didn't scalp that one, but just to show you, it's a bit late to get in for that one. Oops. There's going to be a lot of opportunities, so I'm not in a rush to jump on that one. But here on this breakdown at 0.786, normally I would have taken the short here. I'm trying to draw it for you. Sorry for all the clicking. So this 0.786 breakdown is a good opportunity. In this case, it didn't come all the way down to 1272. We have this higher time frame trend line going right now, this linear trend that's happening. So this bounce now should come back up. If we want to know how far it's going to come up, we can do another fib. So I'm just drawing all these, but you can use a automatic indicator here on the right here. These values are going to be probably the same as what I've just posted. I guess it's using a different zero value, which is this prior low. So you can see this bounce here came back up to 50% retrace. Doesn't always come back up 50%, but a safe amount to buy and then take an exit would be 0.382. So that would have been about 3 points. In this case, it went up to 0.5, which would have given you 4 points. So at this point, after these two moves, it's a little bit less clear what may happen next. So you can either use the microstructure to look at what's and just follow the price action, or you can wait for this test again of 0.382. I'll take it long. If it breaks 0.32, it should come back up to 84.5 to 0.618. But at this point, it's showing two waves going down. So if you're like an LA wave trader, probably 1, 2, we should expect one more wave, 3, 4. Sorry, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 should be perhaps a tap into this area. So if we look back on our fibs charts, where we're sitting here, there's an area that we expected it to come down to, which it didn't, down here, 72, which is expansion of that ETH. It's still quite far from that. It's 10 points, so I'm not sure we'll break down below 70 quite yet. It's possible, but for now, it looks like it's still a downtrend until we complete this cycle. So I'm going to pan out here on a 15-minute. What's interesting is on this higher time frame, on the 15-minute, 30 minutes, this EMA support, basically buy support at the EMA 50 has come in almost every time it's touched it. So that's right now the valley area low, the 43.80. and we keep going higher. So if this holds, then that should suggest that we're going to come back up to the 88 level. But right now it's a lot of volume in the opening session and it's a downtrend. So I think that might get tested and it might break down. So I think the two chances to get a trade just now were when it broke down past 0.8786 and the bounce. So right here I'm going to wait for this bounce for a long. I'm just going to get my DOM ready. I haven't been pushing the buttons. So I just have a prop account set up for this stream, just for like the less risk. So you see it came down here now, and we're at 0.278, 272, sorry. And I have in the background, I'm going to turn that off because that's basically the think of Bookmap market pulse sounds. So right now we see a bounce. I'm going to go down to 1 minute. I think this might be a good place to take a long from 76, 77 and wait for one more wave here. The momentum is still directional, index is still saying it's going down a bit. And it's getting a bit more momentum, so we might come down to the 76 on this next minute or two. In some cases it could break below that 1618. So we can take this expansion and use a prior like here and use the 1212. Oops. But if we use the prior leg here, it looks like it's found some rebound here. So I'm going to try to grab that. It's right now at this OR low value, so it's going to see one long here. And I have it set at 12 ticks, my stop and exit, because I'm just scalping the small range here. I think it could come down a bit further, so it's probably about 8 ticks difference there. But if not, then it should come well past 81, 82 again. So I'm going to draw that out with another fib here. Prior high here. So it's going back up now. My long is fairly small, it's only one ES. And you could probably take an exit right about here, 82.75. It's going to pivot again. So I'm going to flatten that. That's just 1 point or 1.5 points. And that's it. That's basically a small scalp based on the fib expansion there. So you can repeat that. Oh yes, can you hear me? I'll turn the volume up. Not sure why it's not set up very well. Let's see. Boost it. Mic check. Is it any better now? Might have had it on the wrong microphone. Yes, better, right? I think I had it on the wrong mic set. I'm just gonna check everything here. I had it on the webcam. My bad. So I'm not sure what's that screen. I think that's just. Let me go back to here. For some reason, I have this open. Thank you. Yeah, sorry about that. So I just did the scalp from that pivot here, and closed. I basically took an entry right around here, around 79, closed it at 82. If you are more of a wider range trader, you can wait for this first hour IB to finish setting up. If you're a scalper, then we can look for another play. I think it's going to break out one more time here. If we take a reversal of this here, you can see. And just color code that. So right now what we're looking for is if it's an uptrend, it should gather support and buyers at 4380.25. And then any failure from that and higher, we should come down a bit lower now to the 76, 77 region. Let's look back on the higher time frame. So we had planned, or we had projected a pivot right here. So that's about within the range of that next level expansion. We're not quite at that discount. This band here in beige I put, basically that's the overnight discount range, the 0.276, or the low area of the price range. And if we pan out a bit further, oops, that's probably a bit too much. If we pan out a bit further, I just panned out for this fib here is for the full range on Friday. Price could considerably drop, maybe down to the 50 and 58 level if it continues to sell off. But since we've had buying support here at the EMA so far, I don't see that dump quite yet. We'll see how the price reacts here at 76 if it comes to it. So this chart's on the Discord. If you don't have, if you haven't access to Discord, it's in, I think it's in the links. And so now we're seeing here some buying here at the low discount level, sort of a double bottom on the 1 minute chart. Above the 80.25, then price should come right back up to the 81.50. So it's not a big range right now to trade, but you could scalp that for 1 point here. So I expect if this holds, then we should come up right to here. So I think it's easier to look at the Bookmap L2 book to see what the imbalance is there. Normally I'll have another chart with the bid ask imbalance that's already taken place. So I'm not in a rush to grab this 1 point. It's kind of a small range. You could easily dump on the opposite way 3 points. But it looks like it's going to go up now to 81. Too late to grab that. I'm going to try here. That's probably not the right play, but I just put a 1 point or 3 tick entry. So there we go. It didn't quite hit on my order, on my DOM here. There we go. So now it's shot up quite a bit, well past the 0.618, which suggests that we have an uptrend now. So it's going to test this 0.786. Normally it's going to come right back down off once it bounces off here. So that's what happened here. So it's not a right point to take an entry yet. Usually he's going to test either the 0.32 or the 0.5 one more time. So you could see how the support is here, and then if it finds support, then we should see price come right back up to 85.25. Usually the first time it's dipped down below the EMAs, the EMA 50, EMA 100, it's going to have a tough time getting past here, because what happens now is that a lot of algos who want to sell will sell orders right here. So you may want to wait for price to just break past 82.75 if you're looking for a swing long position that's much higher than here. I expect there to be some sellers right about here the first time. So we had some sellers here. We've had some sellers right here, and that suggests that those algos are active at the EMA level. So it's right at the EMA 50 right now. This time it might be at the EMA 100. So you could take any of the bounces off 80 or the 79. It might test this a couple times, but it's really a small range. You would have to be quick at pressing the buttons here. Or you can set the limit order here at 79. So right now this price action is showing support here, and a test and almost a break past this point, 786. So this suggests that we have some upswing happening, and usually what happens is a lot of these short positions here will cover, and this will bring price up to the first level of expansion. So let's go back to that price chart here, see how that works. We have a couple of huge doji candles on the 15-minute chart, and we're still kind of floating in this range just above this Camarilla S1 daily. It's not really that strong of uptrend yet, but we should see in the next few minutes a big move either down or up, because it's exhausted both ranges now and taking out some of the liquidity above and some below. So for those ICT traders, it's sort of this Judas swing a little bit. There wasn't much of a gap here for these shorts from Friday, but it still touched it. And now whatever happens will be sort of the trend for the next 30 minutes probably. So if we go back to this chart, we see it broke through here. So you could consider this a small long from here up to here. For me, it's a bit late now to grab that. So I'm gonna just check the chat messages. I don't stream very often, but some folks were asking to see how I draw the fibs real time, so that's why I have this chat going. So here it's coming back up again. I don't have the 30-second chart on this TradingView, but I can see just on this 1 minute time frame, this momentum is swinging up, but it's not very strong right now, and I'm not really inclined to take that risk right now here. It's taking a few rejections off the EMA 100 I would expect. I'm gonna take a peek at the Bookmap. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to stream Alex's Bookmap at the same time, so I'm not gonna pop that on the screen. So I think it's gonna come up 85.25 pretty easily at this point. So I'm gonna just try to scalp those 2 points. Maybe 85 to be a bit safe. I have it pretty wide right now, the stop loss, which is 80.5, which is a bit below the 0.32. I think I should move it 1 tick below. So I'm gonna let that play, or let this trend continue out. It could potentially come up all the way to 87 again, or 86.25. So how am I finding those values here? I've taken this fib tool, and I've just drawn that prior high and the low that was just tested. And if it does break past 83.75, we should see price come up to here. So it's 10 o'clock. I'm just going to check there's any. I don't think there's any major news today on the economic calendar from what we looked at earlier. We do have the couple of bond auctions at 11:30, so that might not be a good time to hold a position. So I'm just going to adjust my take profit order here. Still at 85. And this checkered, or sorry, this dotted line here is just this developing valley area high. And this other dotted line is the IB high. So those are kind of key areas. If you're asking what those are, valley area high is, you can see on this chart here, on this little TPO chart, it's the 70th percentile, or I'm not sure how to say that properly, of the price range that's been tested in the recent time here. So if you have this big rejection here, so probably it's going to come down to 80.25. So that might be a loss here. So we'll take the loss if it comes back below 80 here. Yeah. And we'll just have to do that again. So we lost this upswing that we took earlier. So I think that rejection was this prior rejection, this prior 1.0. And maybe there was some news also at 10. That's why I quickly checked the calendar. If you look at this higher time frame range, the prior one was right about here. The prior higher, sorry, to this level here is 1. And so I think that was also rejection at the 0.786. Yeah, right there. So I'm going to remove this fib now because this, I want to move it over, I mean. So I think this chart is going to come down a bit. Let's see what happened. Probably lost 150 there. Yep. So that's our first loss for the day. And now I think it's going to obviously retest this low here. We'll see what happens if it breaks through. I'm going to draw this expansion lower. Might need to get a less clicky mouse here. If it breaks down below, then it might come down for yet another 2 points. It's not a very big range. And this prior level here in the yellow line, it's the low from the Asia session. That's the 74. So there may be some buyers, some that need to sell if it comes down to that level. So it's basically a pool of liquidity waiting there. What are you guys trading? Are you guys all in ES or are some of you also trading NQ? Right now I just did the ES chart. We can post the NQ if that's more relevant to the rest of you guys. I think this level here is going to hold for a little bit, the 78. If we look back at the 15-minute chart, that's still our EMA 50 level. Duck Goose says, I don't know how you trade and do all the technicals. Yeah, if it sounds like gibberish, you can let me know. I do the session here where we kind of show how we plan these levels. Basically, it's all about relative price, premium and discount. And so you can just take a ruler or whatever price line divided by 2 and say that's high and low. But a fib is basically the same tool. It just breaks price range down into different sections based on ratios. So it depends on the time scale. If you're trying to get in for the day or for the week, let's say we go back to the 1 hour here. You don't necessarily need to scalp. You can, for instance here, I'm going to use the monthly range. This is the high from October, and that's the low from October. So, you know, ballpark, this area here is sort of the low, right? And this is the high. So we're sort of nearing the high value for this month. If you want to be very precise on where to get in and out, if you're using very large sizes or even futures contracts themselves are very large, then you want to try to be as precise as possible. So this gives us a way to gauge when the large market players come in and out, and they usually come in right at those fibs. So I'm just going to show you here of this large range here on this when it came back up here. So the first fib is really where there's always a lot of resistance. So price got stuck around here at this 41.94 level for a little bit when it first started off. You can see that was like right here having troubles when it came back up. And then the same thing, oops, excuse me, at this 42.36. Not so much. It started to really push after that. Once it gets past these two fibs, it tends to shoot up quickly and then goes to the next two more up to the 0.618. So we can see it scaled quickly, and then now we're well past this 0.786. Typically we would have expected a reversal right here, which it didn't happen. It may just be a lot of extra buyers coming into the market now. And so we might just consolidate in this range for a little bit. I think it's going to be a bit choppy today, and especially tomorrow. On Wednesday and Thursday, we have some public speeches from Jerome Powell again. So I'm just going to pull out that calendar. So that's going to be a crazy day, I think. It's nothing specific. He's just speaking in a conference, but that tends to cause some volatility. So right now we're sort of in this inside day, as people call it. Price is still within the prior day's range, and it's not very moving very much past the Globex range, which was set at 88 or 87 and 73. So it might be a scalp day. Sorry for all the clicking. I gotta get a mouse that's less clicky. Yeah, my brain would be, I'm kind of like, I don't know, I guess I used to play a lot of video games, so I'm clicking like every single moment. But I think for the most part, what I'm trying to find is the best entry and exit for the day. I may not scalp every single trend here, every single movement. What's more interesting to me is to find the play. So overnight we had this support right about here at the the 74, which was the prior low on Friday. So that was a very key level right here. And then to me, what I'm looking for on these higher time frames is support buying as it continues up these fibs. So basically it suggests that the large buyers are coming in at a higher support price, and then again at another higher support price. When that happens, usually that causes some of these sellers to start closing their positions, and that's push price a bit faster. So I think that took a while to take place. If you look at the 1 hour chart, it might be more evident. Not really. I have too many boxes on this chart. So I just wanted to show how it came up to the expansion area. So I think in the same case now, we're just going on the opposite way. If we go back to the other chart. Yeah, so we got that big rejection earlier, which is kind of indication that the sellers have arrived. And they're moving the market down now. So I think if we look at, I'm going to close all these lines, boxes that I just drew. So momentum is going, or directional index is going down. We mentioned earlier this should come down to the 74 and retest that low. So I think if you were positioned for a short here at this premium, that 786, that would have been nice, which is a lot bigger range than the scalps that we took. So I'm going to draw this fib for this prior range here, just to show you how we could tell the sellers were coming in. So this is right here, exactly at the 50% mark right here from this prior high and this prior low. We saw a big block come in. I think if we were looking at the Bookmap, we could see an iceberg right here. Just gonna take a look here. That's the 83.75. So not really an iceberg, but we have like a 110 executed iceberg just before that held it down as well. So the subsequent one right here. So that kind of suggests that the sellers are going to bring this price down a bit. Likely to take out the liquidity that came in overnight. So if you're in a short, you might see a bounce right about here. So I missed that play, so I'll wait for the next one. So we're coming up to this first hour trading IB range will be set up. And that's a nice time to then look at how price may break out of that range, where it might go. Right now we have, I think the IB high, IB lower not set up properly. I'm just gonna fix that. So there's a little bit left here, one more point to come down to. If we expand this fib, we can see it's probably the 1272 as well. Yeah. So you could automate all of these actions and it can give you pretty good results, but a lot of times there is some volatility that may be unexpected that will not follow this rule. So we might see a bounce here, 7.4. You can try to take an entry here with a stop, or you can wait for this final exhaustion, 70.75s. And what we see here, I'm not sure why there's two lines here. Oh, that's the monthly. I'm just gonna hide this excessive lines here. So I mentioned earlier here, there's the Camarilla pivots. It broke down on this S1. As soon as it breaks down, sorry, the R1, we see price typically flush. And the support pivot point is right now at the 70. And that also lines up almost with the 1618 price expansion. So I think price could come roughly to 70, 71. It might not in the end, we'll see. If it does come to here, it might be a good spot to take along. Usually on these bigger candles, when we see a big drop, we typically see 50% retrace on that. So I'm gonna mark that out as well. So above 76.5, or to be more precise, above 76.75, it should come up to 79. Nice, you were in that short, Duck. Yeah. My phone, I have Loth trading, my TV Bookmap going, and trading on my desk. Sometimes it can be a lot of things happening. So I have two computers. One is trading my main accounts, and this is just for streaming and for looking at the YouTube chats and stuff like that. And for this account, it's sort of a dummy prop account, so I'm not so worried about if I mispress the button. I think probably here at a 73, 74, it's going to reverse. I'm going to look at the 5-minute scale here. So the 5-minute, we're well past the EMAs. We're at this prior low, and typically there's a bounce that comes in. I already missed that bounce. I think the upside is going to be another point minimum. Try for the 1 point. It's a bit risky at this point because this trend is fairly strong. There's a lot of big sellers or people just pushing it down. And I'm not looking at all at any of the other sectors, but sometimes I'll have the spider ETF set up just to see, get a gauge of what's moving. So it looks like the South Korea stocks went up quite a bit overnight. There was a decision by their regulatory body to ban short selling. And so I think the bulls just stepped in and started wiping out those positions, and a lot of people were closing. So the market is rallying quite a bit. I'll just show you what it looks like in Korea. There's a big gap up. And there's quite a bit of upside there still. So I think that's, if you're looking for a sector to buy, or not a sector, but a market to buy, Korea might be on a bit of a rally for a couple of days. Not so interested though. So it came up to that price level that we had expected. I think my order closed. And it went past it just a bit. So I'm just going to see. 0.5 was at the 79.50. For me, that's a safe place to take profit. Anything further upside, you're gonna start to meet resistance here around 80 to 81. It's fairly flat. Everything's fairly flat. I think energy is down a bit, and the financial sectors, they had a rally on Friday. So typically when it rallies too hard, the financial sector is pretty flat over time. So it doesn't really, it always corrects, let's say. So on this account, it's not very big. I'm just using one ES contracts, and I had this one earlier before we started the stream. So we're a bit flat right now. We've came up a bit, maybe a couple $100. And on my other account, I'll copy trade 10 ES at the same time. So look here, I think now we're back in this range that we had earlier. I guess for our 4-hour range. So it's likely that price will come up to the midpoint near POC 81.75. It's not a lot of room to go up on. So again, if we see it exhaust past 80.45, I might be place to short. I'm going to use a smaller time frame so I can position for those. So what strategies do you guys normally take to position, take entries? Are you looking at price action? Are you looking at fib levels? Are you looking at the Bookmap? Anything different that you'd suggest others to look at into? So here, I think there could be another rejection here at 82. It happens to be the opening price and also the Gamma R1 and the 0.786. I'm not sure, but that might be a spot to scalp 82 and it may come down to 79. So I'm going to set that limit order, see what happens. And I think the market's already rejected before that level. So we'll see if it comes up there at all. And now we're starting to get a bit more momentum. The swings on the price changes are a bit wider, a bit stronger. So I think price will tap this here and just bounce right off. But eventually it may come right back up to the 86 area. So my order just hit the short. I think it's going to come down maybe 0.5. So I'm going to adjust that. Oops. Not a lot of space for these trades right now. It's small. So you can probably scale up a bit more. So it didn't work out. I think it's pushed through. Hit my stop now. I think I lost, I put 1 point, I think. Yeah. So that could have been a spot where if you were stopped out, you could take a reversal and continue past this value to this prior high, which would have been basically to recover your loss. I tend not to take too many reversals because sometimes with the lag of your order setting out, it may not really pan out as fast as you want it to. Duck says, I use smart money and fibs. Yeah, the smart money concepts, that's fairly similar too. I think I'm going to load SMC here. I like this one. I mean, I don't particularly use these very often, but this one is pretty accurate. Smart money concepts, Lux Algo. Oh, I maxed out already. But if you're new to that, you could probably try that out. Just gonna remove some of the stuff here. Just gonna pop that on there and try to hide some of this stuff here. So I just put on the SMC, the Smart Money Concepts indicator by Lux Algo. They have a lot of nicely written scripts, and it gives you sort of the premium and the discount range to get in and out. It depends on what time frame you select, it will adjust that range. But again, they're very similar to using fibs. So it's basically gauging the midpoint and the premium levels based on prior fibs, or sorry, prior ranges. And sometimes it's a bit confusing. You have to really follow it over a bit of time to see where it's positioning these arrays. So right now it's saying that this area in pink is potentially a selling zone, so which happens to line up with this fib that I drew. You can see how the 1272 lines up here, this 1 to 1272, and then above that, the next range would be above the 1414. So I think it's providing the same information, or it's based on the same information as well. It's just a different way to look at it. Yeah, it's really good. Yeah, sometimes if you draw the fibs, it can take a while, and then by then you're already, the trade's already too late to get into. So it's nice to have a map. I draw this well in advance of the session. So I can see here, I drew this last night before any of these candles came up, and we expected price to come and bounce right here at this orange box. So on my orange boxes, I say potential sharp pivots. So that's pretty much what happened here. If you go to 5-minute candle, that's a pretty sharp reversal. So what I would normally do is I would set up limit orders here. I would limit buy, limit sell before the session open, taking on the plan that potentially price will pivot at one of these premium and discount ranges or levels. And then you can set it for, you can set it for a few points, or you can just hold on to it until it breaks down again for break even. Drew asks, could you go over which range you're using for that fib? I'm sure that's a rehash. So, sorry, are you talking about this one here or the one here? I'm assuming you mean this one here. So I'm going to remove this one here. So basically, if we go to the 1 minute chart, you can see that a bit better probably. And I'm going to hide this SMC stuff. So basically, this was the prior high here. And this was that pivot level right here. So what I'm usually looking at is what I call a pivot. Is when price creates a new low or a new high relative to some prior trading range. So here was a relatively new high, or sorry, a new high relative to this range. And that's a new low relative to this range. So this is our range that we're interested in. And what we're interested in to see is how much price will come back relative to this range. And so right now that's basically from 10 o'clock to 10:15. That's the last 30 minutes. You can also use this high here, which will give you a different set of values. And if I turn on the SMC, it's going to probably, if you show it a lineup with a different price, sorry, a different time range. Not quite. So that's, I'm not sure what the SMC is using. So here we can see if we use this one, this is where we expect this to be a new premium level. And earlier we had suggested to take a short here, which in the end it panned out, but we just needed a wider stop. So you can see it came down a bit. So instead the market sold off at the 1 instead of the 0.786. So normally I would say if you were going to take a short, you want to give your position at least 1 fib cushion, sometimes 2. It depends on the volatility at the time of day. So volatility is a bit higher now. So probably I was a bit too conservative. I used 1 point here, the OR, opening price, I mean, rather than entire fib. And normally I would suggest if you were to take a short here that you want to position your stop here. So that's 1 fib up. So I'm not sure if that answers your question, Drew. That's the fib for this current range. And then again, you can do the same thing for this range here. I have the high and then I have the low. And what this allows you to do is to gauge, okay, if it breaks past, usually if it breaks past the second fib, the second time it's going to come up 2 more fibs. So here, this gives you a clear signal to scalp from here to here. So if I wasn't on this chat, I would be basically punching in a limit order right here when it comes back down again for this value. Here it went to only 0.5, so it's kind of interesting. This is sort of a signal to say it's not that bullish now. It's kind of reversing. So then you would basically close it right away for break even, or you could let it test your stop. So if I took an entry here, normally I would put a stop halfway point between this fib. Yeah, so I think because of this rejection here, this would have been, not a great entry. I think right now for me, this here isn't quite low enough for it to be a reversal yet. If we just look at the wave here, this is like 1 wave. Usually we have at least 2 waves. That another low that's lower than this prior low. And then you can see this is a up wave as well. So this could be after this low finishes or this equal low. It could come up to here again. And again, I'm not looking at the book or anything. I'm just using this approach on this particular stream. Normally I would incorporate the Bookmap. I would incorporate the volume profile information as well. So you can see came down to this pivot. It would have taken out these stops that were right here. And then now it looks like it's going to bounce up to here potentially. But this is sort of, as I said, not really a clear indication. It's sort of the midway point on this previous range. I think I might say here you could take this as a full range again and say support was at the 0.382. And now we can see it's coming up to that expected price level. So I'm not sure if I took a position. No, I don't think so. I'm still talking. So I can push more buttons and press more trades to see how that comes out. But I would have said after this bounce here, this would have been a lot more reasonable long to take. But it's still only 4 points, but that's still a decent move. Yep, so I basically, for ES at least, if I'm scalping, I find it using the fibs allows you to get a lot of precision in your entries, and even for your stop values, like here, you could use this as an entry, and then you could put your stop below 1 fib. So it gives you a way to measure your risk. And then on the higher time frames, it gives you, if you use it on a higher time frame, it gives you a better idea when to get in and out of the market. So this is, for me, I would have still been long here at this value. I probably have that limit order set up on my other account. I'm just going to try to draw an arrow. Sorry for all the clicking. Right here, you can see this chart we mapped out last night. And all of this is basically based on the fibs of the prior day. So I'm going to try to reduce some of this information. Oh boy, it's too much. I can probably do it on the side here, just so it's clear. So I'm just drawing another fib yet again. This one here is the range for the RTH Friday. 1 at the top, 0 at the 9:30 open. And the reason why this, to me, was a golden zone to just jump back into a long was it was this 50% retrace value right here. So you can see how exactly 50% it bounced. And on a very strong trend day, when the price does retrace, typically you'll see a lot of buying come still at the 50%. When it's sort of a natural cycle, you'll see price come down to this 0.382, or inversely it's the 0.618. So it would have come down to here. I mean, it could still come down to this level at some point, but because we've had this strong support overnight and support on Friday afternoon here, this was a very clear place that price would bounce again. So this is sort of a place you can position a bit more heavy and have more certainty that it's going to bounce. So this would have been 5 points only, but potentially it's going to go back to the 88 here. We'll see how it moves. It's not a lot to trade right now unless you scope down to the 1 minute. So the IB range has been set up now. I'm not sure if it's showing up for you guys. I'm not sure why mine's not showing up. Oh, I gotta set it. And that's a bit exciting because it gives us some more clue about what's going to happen in the next hour. Sorry, I'm gonna just set that up. Sorry, all the clicking. So we have here our IB high in these dotted bubbles, and then IB low on below. And if I just go back to that 1 minute chart, it's a bit easier to see. Going to set this to the right value. Yep. And I'm just going to hide some of this stuff now. So again, we have the IB low down here, and IB high is right up here. I'm going to move this fib over. What you can do now is prepare for a breakout if there is going to be a breakout or breakdown how far it's going to come. So we'll break down on this range. We could expect price to come down to here. It's not much of a move. It's 4 points. And you can do the same for the range going up. And you can either wait for a short at the 93.5, or you can take a long when it breaks out here. Typically, if it breaks out above the IB high, we'll see price come up here. It might come to this kind of pattern. And if price breaks down below IB low, it might do this kind of pattern. And this could be right back to the IB again, the IB low, or it could come back up 1 fib. So it's different ways to play it. You can prepare for this retest and take an entry there to go up, or you could take the short when it hits this expansion and it comes back down. So, I mean, potentially you can do both. Quick. I'm gonna leave those there for now. Yeah, sorry, Drew, to go back on that. That's right here. These boxes that I've drew out. Basically, I'll take the map. I'll take, sorry, the fibs. I'll draw fibs for the RTH range on Friday. You can see here, if I just scope in here, these are the two fibs. This one goes up, this one goes down. And then from there, basically, you can gauge the exact price level where to expect the algos to come in. So right here, at the bottom fib, the 0.236, maybe price will come down to it later and bounce off of it. Here was the 0.5, so exactly where price bounced off of it 3 times now. So that suggests that because they're still buying support here, or maybe the shorts are closing their positions right here at 0.5, this trend should continue to go up. There's not a lot of interest to push it down yet. We could have a surprise all of a sudden, and we could have one of these big drop-offs right when we come back up here. So what you want to look for is now at this level here, this 0.786, whether we get a rejection or it's going to push through. If it pushes through, it's very likely we retest the high 91. So that's what I marked it right now. So that happens to be just below the IB high. And so I think right now, to me, with the support here at 0.5, and then with price coming right back up here, it's likely we retest the 91 later today. Unless, of course, there's some macro news that changes. So here I didn't take the long, but we mentioned earlier here. Pull this stuff down. We plotted this fib earlier for this range. Because we saw price support right here. I'm going to smooth this over. Because we saw price, buyer step in right here, this lower fib on this retrace. This was a very strong signal that this would come up to, now it's the 985.75. So this would have been a move that you could take very confidently with the support here. So I think I positioned in, but I got stopped out because I didn't put the stop in the right spot. But this would have been 5 points. Drew asks, do either Asia or London sessions have any weight into the fibs? Yeah, you could use the full range. So I'm going to pull back to this one here. So here I just showed just earlier, these are the fibs for the RTH on Friday. But you can also do that for the full day. So in this kind of web here, you can see right here, that's the fib for the low on the Asia and London session. So that day on Friday was just flat, and it was just around 26. But if you use those values, you can use those as a gauge as well to see how price may hold. So right now it's not so interesting. It hasn't come down to this point, the second fib yet. It hasn't gone up to this wider expansion area. But if we look at Friday's range, for instance, I'm just going to try to draw that here real quick. So I'm using the London low on Thursday and then the high of New York. You see that right here. And the 1618 here got us to the Friday high. Almost, I think it was off by 1 point, maybe. But that's pretty telling. Like when we have this price action and then overnight it broke past the one, usually what happens is price will come up here and then have a little bounce off the 1217 and 1272, and then once it finds support again, it'll bounce up to the next one. Doesn't always go up to the 1618, but on a really strong trend day, that's very common. And you can see it with the full day range. That helps. You can just use, you can also just use the London and UK range. So here I have the expansion of that Globex range. This was the high, this was the low. And that's how we got to the pre-market price here of 89.50. So you can see the 1618 right here for the Asia session got us to the New York price high, open price high, exactly to the tick. So just for those who didn't see that, here I put the one at the, high for Asia. I think that was during the open right at the Japan open. And then I have the low here overnight, which is around when China opened. And that range didn't move very much. It's not a lot of volume, but typically this can be extrapolated to provide you the next high, which happens also to be almost in line with the fair value gaps here on Friday. But you can see it's right to the tick. Doesn't always happen. Sometimes it'll go to 1272. So you need to be watching and kind of gauging what to expect based on the price action for those hours. So here it was very bullish, and then it found a lot of support. So I initially thought it would come back up to here, but because of this very strong bullish activity, I thought, okay, it's going to come to 1618. So now I'm not in any trade right now. I was waiting for this breakout, and I think now we have this first test of the breakout. Not quite yet. Where's IB? IB's up here. So before it could get up to the IB high, you could see the rejection here after the expansion. So I'm just on this 1 minute chart, and I showed you earlier how to gauge the next leg. This leg was basically an extension of this prior leg. And then once it reached this leg, you typically have at least 2 fib, maybe 0.5 retracement. So here you could draw the 0 at the top and then the 1 at the bottom and take this retrace going down. And where you get in it, I mean, you typically be more confident putting a short in between the 1272 and the 1414. So some folks will use the 1.38 as a measure right here. If it goes past it, then it's quite bullish. So then you don't need to short it anyways, but you will have a 1 point loss. But here you can see this was a good place to take a short. I didn't chime in there, but here we have a move probably to here, 0.618. So let's see if that holds. You can see how as soon as it touched that price, it formed a large wick initially. So some algos bought it, and now it's sort of testing it. And if it holds there, then you can repeat that process. It's going to come up probably to minimum of 82.25. Just scoping out, it looks like to me this is an uptrend, so this could potentially come up again to 84 or 85. So if you're using limit orders, you can set a limit order at the 0.618 here with the stop below the fib below, which is the 0.786. I know it seems like a lot of details. It is. So you can take a long there if you feel like it's supporting. I would typically wait for the support candle, sorry, the support retest. So price will come down at least second time, and if it holds there and it finds support, then you can start it to position in. If it doesn't hold, then yeah, price will basically do the same process here. But you can see it will come right to that level or one or tick or so off. And now it bounced off of there as we expected it. And if you draw these fibs over and over again, you'll see a pattern take place pretty often. When it's 0.6, that's kind of implying that the market's in a rotational cycle at the moment. And then the algos will keep doing this. And then if for some reason it breaks past this 0.618, then they'll let it run to the 1272. And the reason why this one ran a bit more is because this is the uptrend following this downtrend, and usually you have two waves, so we have 1 and 2. So I'm going to try to get a trade in. I haven't been pushing the buttons. I'm going to see if this holds here second time. I think maybe a 5-point move up. Right now it doesn't look very strong. And I'm not sure what happened to all my other indicators. Sorry, I have a million, all these alerts. Some of these are setting webhooks to my fund and making trades. So we're sort of sitting in this middle ground still. It's still a scalper's morning so far. And on my chart here, I can see I think I had the last 5 trades, 4 of them were losses, so not really good. I was starting off pretty good at the beginning. We'll see how it goes in the rest of the day. On my other account, I took a long from that pivot right down here overnight, and I held it all the way to the 88 luckily, and that was my 5 ES play. I'll post that in the Discord later. I think that probably ended up being 2,500 in nominal value. So here we see some support and we see a reversal on the directional index. So momentum is still kind of low. Not so interested in taking a play when the momentum is low. It could just continue to bleed off. Third test here of the same level. If it doesn't push up, then it's going to come down to the 77. But I think this is going to come up 83 here. Going to take potentially I'll take a long here. Let's see, I think it's still being faded off. Just gonna take a look at the Bookmap. It's sort of hovering on the point of control here. I need to add back my volume profile. So one thing to look out for here, this dotted line here is the opening price, and it's been just cycling around the opening price so far. No rejections really at that level, so it's not so. The only time it did have this was right at the open. I don't see my volume profile. I'm not sure what happened to it here. Oh yeah, there it is. So this line here is again the Asia high. So I think it's been having some resistance when it crosses above the Asia high so far. See, I think it should come up to at least 83, but there's this band of resistance in the middle here. And there was this prior fair value gap on the 5-minute range. So I have a small position. I think I put the target at 83 here. It might be safer to go 82.75 for this fair value gap on the 5-minute, just to lock it in. So small, I think it's just 1 point, 1.5 points. So that's this prior tick here. So that was, yeah, closed. Oops. So got back a little bit. So I'm only using 1 ES. Maybe I'll put this to 3 to make it more interesting. Back on the 1 minute, I think now that we've passed this 0.2836, what you could see is what you want to do is you want to gauge whether this will continue to go past the prior high. And if we look at our volume profile, we're sort of stuck in the between. We're in the midpoint, right around point of control. So it's not very clear whether there is a trend right now. It's sort of just at the midpoint. If it breaks down below the 79, then we could say potentially it'll come back down to the 75. Right now, I'm not inclined to say it's going to either way. If we look at the 1 minute, what I'm interested to see is whether it'll pass this 84. A discount area would be here at the 77. You can buy long again here. So I'll just draw those two arrays real quick here. This is my buy area. And this would be the next sell area right here. Drew asks, are those EMA clouds in the purple and tan? Yeah, this one, this is the EMA 20-50 band and the 50-100 in the beige. And I like to see them on the 1 minute, the 5 minute, and the 15 minute. So right now, the 1 minute, 5 minute, it's not so interesting, but the 15 minute, most of the time it's been hovering right above the 20. And then whenever it touches the 50, it's been balancing off. We did have this big move at the open. If we look at Friday's range, you could see, again, the 50 was very good. I felt a lot of buying support. And the 20 is often useful for when it really trends really and has a long, strong uptrend. You can use that as a place to enter. The 30 minutes also useful. Maybe if you look back at last week, you can see it more evidently. Price will come up to the 50, and that's usually a good spot to see large money. They'll come in and short if there's a trend, or buy, similar to here. Sometimes they'll come up to the 100, and when you see the 100, you'll see a very strong reversal. On the 1 minute, it's not always particularly useful unless we have a large trend reversal. For instance, these are kind of trend reversals here. But you might only have a couple points to scalp on the 1 minute. Do you guys use any other EMA values? I like to use the 5100 just because I've watched it a long time. I mean, 45 is fairly similar to 50. Sometimes the 75 is relevant, but it's not so useful if you want to plan your levels and limit orders well in advance. So as opposed to using the fibs with the prior day's range here, for instance, I could set all these levels the night before and go to work, whatever, and have all these all these orders set up on the orange bands. Doesn't always work out, but you can obviously put your stops just below it and take that risk. So we have some buying here at the IB low. It's been holding there. This is sort of a inverted head and shoulders that's been forming on the chart, on the the price time chart. But it's relatively flat. I don't know how you guys doing for your trades. Are you guys green, red, doing well today, or just staying flat for now? If you find it useful, basically I offer a free workshop every Sunday night to explain the process of mapping fibs for your daily map every day. And I also do the mapping session every morning at 8:30 with subscribers. So people who want to subscribe will map these levels up together and we'll post them on the Discord so that you can have some idea of where price might enter today. So today, I think we're going to be range bound for a little bit between the 94 and the 75. We'll see some sellers come in there and some buyers come in here. If it does break past the 94, then I think it should come up fairly quickly to the 44.09. You see this big gap up there. It's not a lot of points of sellers. So technically, it's not a really interesting place for sellers to get in. And then below, if we see sell-off, support may not come in until here around the 58. Definitely by the time it hits 51, there should be buyers again at 51. So I think those ranges might be out of play for today, but it's good to have some orders ready for when it does come to it. I mean, you may not be watching your chart all day, so I'll set a limit order here, I'll set limit order here. And then when I'm actually at the chart, I'll draw it out here. So I think there are some scalping opportunities because it's rotational right now. You can see it's going up and down, up and down. So I'll stream for another 30 minutes. I'm not sure if I'm helping any of you guys get any trades, but what I'll try to do in this last 30 minutes is execute a few more trades if I can see them. And for me right now, this area is sort of a nice pocket. Using the low of the day and the high of the day range, we can identify our premium and discount levels. So I moved down the premium actually. We may get a bounce at this level. And then if it breaks out, then yeah, it's gonna go a bit higher. So we're right now at the midpoint, but we found some support here. Likely price is gonna come to the 94. Too slow on that one. I'll let it test here. It's gonna come back down to the 82. So I'll position somewhere around here. We'll see how that works. It's kind of a risky 1-point scalp, not very much volume. I turned off the music because I thought that was causing the static earlier. So I can turn that back on if it's getting a bit quiet. So I think it's flushed through that 0.5. Now it's potentially going to come down to 80.50. I think I didn't set my stop properly here. I'm just going to check. So I'll put it at 80 exactly. Now we sit and wait, or you can put a trail stop or manually move it up to break even as soon as it pushes past this. And what I'm targeting here is just this one fib move for now. But I think a reasonable move could be to this level here, which is the 0.786 for this current range. And I'm using this value here because we've had some prior pivots. Asia high here, and it pivoted at 10:20, it pivoted at 10 o'clock. So right now the market isn't buying a whole lot, and there's not a lot of short covering. So I think that's a reasonable place to close. Oops, I think that was one tick off. Yep. So it's actually 83.75 for the high here. See if it does a second test. Yeah, the volume isn't very high today. I don't know if you guys have any ideas why. Yep, Duck, thanks for being here. I'm glad to be trading with some of you guys regularly, so I think I recognize a lot of your names. Yep, Quality, thanks for listening, and hopefully your rest of your day is green and rest of the week as well. We'll try to do some more group sessions. So I'd like to do collaborative learning. It's not really me necessarily lecturing, it's really just sharing ideas. On Tuesdays we talk about with some of our analysts on our Discord, we kind of brainstorm about potential trades with options in either futures or even mostly in stocks. So if you're more of a stocks trader, we do that as well. And for ES, we do that routinely because it's kind of a bread and butter. It's easy to do technicals on the index. So that play closed. I put it at 84.0. Because of the volume here at this last push, potentially we might get into this 85.5, this prior range, 0.786. Sorry, 85. I'm just gonna close. I just closed mine. I'm not gonna hold it for that 1 point. So you could keep doing these moves. If you just scalp like this with these fibs all day, I'm confident you can make $500 a day doing that with the prop funds or with 1 or 2 contracts. So it looks like my hedge fund that I have set up, it's suggesting a long position, so it's probably in a NQ long right now. So if you're not so inclined to trade every day on your own, I have a fund both on IBKR and on Collective 2, which 2 funds. One is automated and one is my trades. And basically, if you want, you can have it automatically copy trade that fund through your own brokerage. We don't handle your brokerage account. It'll copy trade for you, and that takes care of copying all the trades that I suggest either on my Discord or some other places. And then you can relax, I guess, let that fund carry you. So right now, I think price is going to go up here to this premium area, and this might be an area you could consider a short. Usually when it forms this pattern where we have this very short reversal and then buying, it's typically, some people call this inverse head and shoulders. Typically we'll see price scoot up a bit more. We have also this kind of cup and handle. So we may see price retest the prior high levels, which is right here. Because we don't have a lot of volume right now, I'm not certain it's going to push past 86. Just going to take a peek on the Bookmap. Yeah, on the Bookmap, there's 3 big blocks of liquidity up to the 89. So it looks like it could be a squeeze here back to the high of the day. And that's why I like to look at the Bookmap as well. So probably I don't know most of you from that channel, but if you don't know, I'm going to post that up into our stream here. Here's the, excuse me, here's the Bookmap. It's actually a very useful tool. I think most of you probably know me from there, but if you just joined my stream randomly, that's a good spot to check out. And there you can see all the passive orders on the exchange right now. And from there you can see a few lines. You can see 87, 88, and 89. So I think this could squeeze up to 89. It's a bit late to re-enter the long, so I'm going to wait for a pullback. Should pull back a little bit to re-enter along here. There's no rush. Potentially you could come back down to 83 and we get a nice discount. Otherwise, we'll see how it tests right here. Again, don't try to get in when it's near the high here. There's a much higher chance for it to bounce off than for it to just break through. I mean, if it breaks through, that's fine. We can wait for another short here. So you can see it hit this premium zone, which is also the prior high. And I call it the premium zone because you can look at the full day range, which is basically here. I'm going to draw 2 lines. One here and one here. And if you use those 2 black lines that I just drew, and I'm going to do the fibs again, you can place this and you can see right at this, we have these different ranges again. The 0.786 is sort of the premium area. It's the last one before 100%. And sellers will take profit. I mean, the sellers will sell here, and buyers who got in early will take profit. So a lot of the big money buyers who positioned at this big block, which was this orange block here, will start to close those positions. So if in my other account, I would say here I took the long, I would close right about here for now until we have some intel that this is going to break past the high of the day. So you can see all the shorts came in right here. So if I wasn't talking, I'd be probably pressing the buttons. I would have shorted here for the 2 points. I'm just going to draw the arrow here. Yep. And it's come down to our little support window here. That's kind of only 1 fib. 2 fib is probably a more reasonable support window to consider. And then if it doesn't find buyers, then I would just leave it alone. The shorts are going to push it down to here. So many arrows going. So I'm going to close some of these windows. I don't know how to do that quickly. Just going to delete some of them. Okay, so we can see buyers coming in a little bit here at the 83 as we expected. I'm gonna look at the Bookmap to see what kind of information we can get from there. Oops, that's my own channel. And we see a large iceberg order at 81.5. So if you're using the book or some other Bookmap, 81.50 is this price right here, which is the local discount now. It's 0.618 of this prior range. So if you're waiting to get back into a long, that might be a place to get in. I'm not sure yet. I'll wait for a double test, and then you can take a long here with a a stop value of around 79.5. So I missed that entry. Let's see if it comes back down again. Oh, it's gonna just shoot up now. I think that's a big volume candle. So I think this is gonna come up and test the high now for the day. See if we get one more pullback. I'll try to average in this one here. I'll just use one for now. And I've used 88, this midpoint, as a place to close. I don't want to be waiting all the way to the top because you may get some sellers front that premium zone. So we have a little bit of a fair value gap here. It's probably going to fill to the 84.75 at the minimum. And if it doesn't, then it's probably, the trend's probably going to go down. So I put an order in here and I put a stop just below where I mentioned earlier. We'll see if this works. I don't want to be killing the profits that we had earlier just on this play because it doesn't look very strong, but we've had this continued uptrend. This inverse head and shoulders, this prior low was a higher low. And then we had a retest of this premium zone. Typically it's going to come back at least one more time. So we should see it come back at least to 85.75. And if we do see buyers come in strong here, then it may push and take out these prior shorts. It's not very convincing right now, so I think if you're not sure, you can always take the break even and close out. And the reason why I said I'm not so sure is you can see right here at this local premium, this prior range, sellers have come in right there. But we'll see if it pushes back one more time. Oh, yeah, you trapped. Duck says you're trapped, you're closing soon. You're trapped with a short or a long? I wasn't following your position. This was quite the move earlier when it went up and it came down. And then now it's come up and come down again. So we'll see. Yeah, you're short. So it's kind of like this 50% zone. If this 84 holds strong, sellers coming in, then it may come back down to this 80. But I'm gonna take a peek at the book again, because without the books, sometimes you don't have all the information. This is relying on a mechanical technical pattern that may or may not happen. And we do still have a lot of liquidity south of 80, but it's being held with an iceberg there. And above that, there's a bit of a gap of no liquidity until 86. And then we have that big order at 86.5. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but that's a really big order. That's right here at this premium zone. So potentially it's not going to break past this easily the second time. So I'm going to be more inclined to just take the exit here, 85.75, and wait for that to change. And move this down to 85.75. And I'm just going to confirm on the Bookmap. So in the book, I'm looking for where those big red bands are. Typically, the ones that are very large sellers will be a red band with two kind of translucent blue bands padding it. And that's a good sign of where sellers might be holding the price for a while. I haven't been watching any news at all today, so if you guys see anything. Right now, I'm just assuming that there aren't any major stories. But typically, I'll have some of the stories open on the side. So at 11:30, we have the short duration U.S. Treasury bill auctions. And basically, they just released information of how much the market has bought and how much the Fed has also bought. And that will affect the interest rates a little bit. They've been buying a bit more of the short-term bonds recently, so the Fed has been. So I think that's been raising the rates, lowering the rates a bit faster than the market expected. So we could see a small move, maybe a breakout outside the IB range just after 11:30. Until then, I'm just going to take this small play. I'm going to move my stop now to break even just to be safe. I mean, I only have one contract, so it's just enough for lunch. Not quite break even. I put it to 83, just around the EMAs. And I'll add one more contract here for this final push. We'll see if it pushes past it. So it's just taking out this little FVG here, this little fair value gap on this prior sell. So the shorts got squeezed out there. It may get exhausted there and just come right back down. We'll see. This is kind of a weird candle though. Let's see, it's spinning top candle, some people call it. So it's not very strong structure. Meaning there wasn't a lot of auction that happened here, but there are still some entrants who came in. So it's likely this price will come up here and, oh, there we go, I taken out. So we did have this rejection after the FVG. So I'm not sure, there's some volatility there. Big selling that just took place. Just to put it back to basically the midpoint. So I think that took out some of the profits. So we're back down to 400 from before it was 500. So yeah, 10 more minutes in this session. If you guys have any questions, you can post them in chat, or sometimes I'll do it on Discord so we can do voice chat as well, but there hasn't been a lot of that lately. Yeah, you're good now, Duck. I think it's going to come and just hover around here. Usually around these bond auctions, it's going to just sit at the POC, the POC, the point of control, sorry, for this session. Let's see where that is. So it might come down to the 80.5. These three bands of selling are quite strong too. Same with these two bands of buying. So it's kind of rotational right now. These sellers rotating to buying. But if there is nothing surprising from those bill auctions, or if it's slightly bullish, then we might get up to this high of the day one more time. And if we look at the higher time frames, 30 minutes is a good one. And I'm just gonna hide everything here, except hide all my drawings. The long-term trend since October 28th is still holding. We don't have much of a sell-off. And it's nice to use the EMA 20 here. You can see it's holding very well. And it tested that EMA 50 once. So I think potentially we can come up to that 4406 expansion if there's some bullish activity in the afternoon. Or we could just go sideways for a little bit. Selling is not clear yet, but it is losing momentum. So just keeping my eyes on both angles. So if you're able to buy all those rotations, I only took like a third of them maybe, or a quarter of them, then you might be doing fairly well today. See, we're going to come down to that 80.5, I believe. That's what we marked. Where is it? Put it on here. Yep, so I think it's going to come down to 80.5, which is the point of control. So I'm going to wait for a long down here. The short entry probably would have been the better one, just up here. So I'm moving it quickly just to get to where I wanted to show you. So that pivot right here was right after it took out this liquidity on this fair value gap. And it's probably going to repeat that process again here. So this is kind of a downtrend, but it's going to come back and potentially tap out some of the gaps that it's formed. And now we're sort of at that midpoint of this current range for the day, 50%. So I think the market's going to hover here for 5 minutes until the Treasury bond details come out. Nice, you closed the duck. That's good. That was probably a good play. I'm assuming you got in somewhere around up here. So I put this on YouTube this time. I've been doing this on Discord quite often, but I put it on on YouTube, so that it's recorded and we can always look back. But if you guys have any ideas of what you want to see, maybe different instruments, you can let me know as well. I'm going to take a quick peek at CL. Oops, not Colgate. Crude oil. I always trade CL Colgate too, though. It's a nice one to trade. So oil's been coming down quite a bit since this morning. When ES is a bit flat like that, I tend to look at the other commodities. And gold's been on a nice slide for the last couple of days. Yeah, I've FOMO'd many times. I'm sure we all have. On the FOMC days, I remember last year it was the worst. Yep. See you later, Duck. I'll be on the Bookmap stream just to chat with folks too. I'm just going to wrap up here, but I'll put GC, not this one. Gold Futures. Gene asks. So gold looks like it's on a rebound here. It's sold off to more than 50% of the ADR of the day. Let's see. I'm just going to pan out and do a 30-minute chart. For me, whenever gold gets above 2,000, it's an easy short. But let's see here for the full week range. it's sort of hovering right now at a support area. So you can see, I'm going to reverse this for gold. And I'm going to hide that other indicator here. It's maybe going to be confusing. So you can see right here at this 1987 value, it's found some support. And probably that was the same support earlier too. So what I've done is I've just looked at the range from the past week, essentially, since Tuesday. And right now this might be a place to take a buy for it to come back to 93. Gold's not so rotational, but when it's oversold, the sellers will take profit quickly. So you can expect this kind of a push back up. Maybe it's going to come back up. Because this is the second cycle now, it's less clear. If it was the first cycle down, then you know a 50% retrace is fairly common. So it did that twice already. So I'm not sure, maybe it could retrace to 93. But right now it's not so clear. It's, if we want to look at the projection, it could come down again to this 97, and that might be a better place to take a long. So it's sort of at this, locally at this midway point on this particular support level. If you're thinking the trend will continue to go up, then it's a great spot to take a long. But gold is not always so clear. No, the Bookmap guy is Alex. He's a different guy, but I'm one of the, I help mod some of the chat on his stream. That's about it. I don't think he has his own channel, or he doesn't talk. He doesn't do a trading stream very often. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for hanging out with me for this morning. I'll try to do more of this with actual trades. And if you're not on the Discord, I'm going to post the link right now. Basically, through the day, I'll try to post the actual trade. And there's probably a lot more trades than I've done during this call. Invite people. Here we go. And some days we could make a lot. Some days we could be break even or a little bit of a loss. But what I like to do is be accountable. So I post every trade as much as I can, so that we can see whether my strategy is working or not. So I'm just going to post that in the stream here. I just noticed I'm so close to my camera. Okay, there we go. So that's the Discord link if you haven't joined the channel. And I'll post updates about when we'll do this live stream again. But thanks for joining the call. And good luck for the rest of your day.